There's no denying, I don't think anyone in this room would disagree, that New York City is the greatest city in the world. Absolutely. And I think we'd all be hard-pressed to find someone who loves this great city, the city of New York, more than this mayor. We're so thankful to have him here today. We're thankful for his love, not just of New York City, but of this country and of our good friend and ally, the state of Israel. I am honored to have the endorsement of Mayor Ed Koch.
You know, I'm 85 years old. Still standing. I hope until the day I die, whenever God wants to take me, that I will maintain my interest in the city and the state of New York and our country. We have such an extraordinary country. And I hope that everyone, whether they're Italian or Polish or Jewish, whatever the ethnicity happens to be, will appreciate what this country has given to its immigrants. The country is overwhelmingly the children of immigrants or immigrants themselves, and it is special. There's no other country like it. And what this country says to its Italians, its Poles, its Germans, its blacks, its Hispanics, its Jews, is never forget who you came from, your roots, your ancestors. We believe that you should always maintain a tie with them. Our citizenship, our love of the United States is paramount. It's first. But it strengthens the United States because of our immigrant background, that we keep in touch with the people from whence we sprang. I've always believed that, and I am, and have been, very concerned about what is happening in the Middle East, because Israel has been in danger from the day it was created, because its Arab neighbors wanted then, and some still do, to kill it, its people, and push it into the sea and destroy it. And now you have Iran, which is not Arab, but part of the same Muslim Brotherhood, wanting to do the same. And this time it's not push them into the sea and destroy them. This time it is destroy them with a nuclear bomb. And the greatest ally that the United States has is in the Mideast, democratic, supportive of our policies, is Israel. And the greatest ally that Israel has is the United States. And every president has taken the position that there is a special relationship between Israel and the United States, and we have provided them with their armaments and economic aid when they needed it, and we have just been very supportive. I was disturbed, everybody knows I was disturbed and distressed when President Obama seemed to shake that special relationship, but he since then has said that was all a mistake, and no, I take him at his word.
Okay.
I believe it's in the interest of the United States and the Jewish nation of Israel to be together. And the President has said that. But what's important to know is, in the history of the relationship between the United States and Israel, it is the Congress that has never flinched. It is the Congress, when presidents wavered, not just the current president recently, but back on track, but in the history of the relationship, it is the Congress that stood up. And that is why it is so important, whether they be Democrats or Republicans, it is so important that that Congress be supportive of Israel. And I have concluded, and I concluded long ago, that Maurice Hinchey is not a congressman who supports the state of Israel.
Correct.
I know he's correct. And so, when an election comes, where you can throw the bum out, throw him out. I'll tell you two things that particularly bother me. It was in January of this year that 54 members of Congress, many of them hostile to Israel, and Maurice Hinchey being one of them, signed a letter in which they had demanded that Israel open its borders to the West Bank and to Gaza. Now we know they're called the Hamas 54. Hamas being the terrorist organization situated in Gaza. We know that there was a recent war with Gaza where they sent perhaps 4,000 rockets into southern Israel, terrifying women and children who had to go into bomb shelters. And Israel did what any sovereign nation would do. It went in to defend its people. And currently, Israel maintains a blockade, which any nation would do. We maintained a blockade of Cuba when the Russians were... When the Russians were seeking to introduce nuclear bombs into Cuban areas that could be used against us. It is the right of a nation to prevent anyone on its borders from using that territory from which to send bombs and other weaponry into Israel. And that blockade is there. Legal, internationally legal under law, and there are people who would like to break that blockade. There are people who would like to end that blockade, and Israel says we need to make sure that there are no weapons and rockets introduced into Gaza to be used later to destroy Israeli men, women, and children. And they're going to maintain it until there is a peace. Now, there are those, like Maurice Hinchey, who don't like that. Now remember, the blockade is not of peaceful cargo. That cargo unloads either in Egypt or in Israel and then goes immediately into Gaza. There's no humanitarian crisis in Gaza. But the people who signed that letter, 54 of them, Maurice Hinchey being one of them, he doesn't care about the security of the state of Israel. He doesn't care about that. He wants the borders open so the terrorists can freely go across those borders. Now there was a second letter which he didn't sign, and that was of June 17th of this year, in which members of Congress, I think it was over 250, I don't remember the exact number, and it was bipartisan, Democrats and Republicans, saying to the President that Israel was right to prevent the flotilla. Remember that flotilla that came from Turkey, a provocative act intending the people who said it. They were honest about it. They said, we're going to break the blockade. It wasn't a question of sending food, which they could have sent if it were necessary, and that wasn't even necessary, to be unloaded in Israel or in Egypt. It was to break the blockade. And the Congress said, that's wrong, Mr. President, and we should be supporting Israel and its blockade of Gaza. The signature of Marie Sinchi was not there. Why are we not surprised? Was not there. So there are a whole host of moments in time when Marie Sinchi has conveyed his hostility to Israel and his support of the Islamic terrorist cause. I consider that the Hamas 54 support for the terrorist cause. So what I'm saying to you is, it's not just Jews. You know, there are more Christians in the United States than Jews who support Israel, simply because Israel has 6 million people approximately. It's 2% of the population, whereas we have 305 million people, and 70% or more are Christian. The greatest supporters of Israel are Christian in terms of numbers. That when you have a choice between someone who's demonstrated his hostility to Israel, as Marie Sinchi has, in my opinion, and someone who has reached out to the Jewish community and to the Christian community to be supportive of Israel, grab hold of him. Help him. Help him with your shoe leather. Help him with your money. Get to the polls. Bring the people who know the culture.
Yes, we can.
Another aspect of it, which is a different hat that I wear. I'm the founder of New York Uprising, which seeks to deal with the dysfunctional state legislature. One of the items that we demand there be a change in is the redistricting that has to take place every 10 years under the New York Constitution and the federal Constitution, based on the census and the movement of people. There'll be more people in this district, less people in another district, and we want that redistricting done in an impartial way, with an impartial commission, rather than keep the incumbents in their office. It also applies to the Congress. Redistricting is done for the congressional seats in Albany. And what we want to do is to get the members of Congress to say, we want a fair redistricting, no longer to have redistricting on the basis of keeping incumbents in. Pinchy is an incumbent. So we have asked every member of Congress from New York to sign a pledge that they would support impartial redistricting. Pinchy has refused.
I wonder
why. So I close now by saying to you're going to win.